All right, now speaking of bi-curiosity and closeted homosexual tendencies, let's get into this story now. I don't really be following the Christians, except when I want to call them out on their damn hypocrisy. But and that's why we're about to tell this story, because there's somebody by the name of Michael Tait, who I'm not familiar with. Apparently, he was out here doing some type of tomfoolery, messing around with men inappropriately, and he was high on the blood of sugar. So in January, apparently, single Michael Tait left the Christian rock band Newsboys after 15 years. Then just last week, allegations of grooming, SA, and substance abuse emerged in a lengthy article on the Roy's report. It said following a 2.5-year investigation. And shout out to Variety for this story. So Michael Tait, who became a Grammy-winning star in the Christian music world as a member of DC Talk, in the 90s, and continued that hit streak in recent years with a long stint as lead singer for the group Newsboys, has issued a confession on social media in which he admits that allegations of a wanted groping of young men and drug use contained in a recent investigative report were largely true. Saying, quote, recent reports of my reckless and destructive behavior, including drug and alcohol abuse and sexual activity, are sadly largely true. This is what he wrote in a post on his Instagram account. For some 2 decades, I used and abused booger sugar. Y'all know what that is. Riding a white horse. Consumed far too much alcohol and at times touched men in an unwanted, sensual way. I'm ashamed of my life choices and actions and make no excuses for them. I will simply call it what God calls it, sin. No, child. What we're not going to do is call it what that is. The way you went about it is some damn sin. But I'm sorry, same-sex anything, but long before religion decided to indoctrinate our world and try to keep people enslaved mentally, there was a little thing called homosexuality. It's always existed. We've had it in animals, mammals particularly, and it existed long before Christianity. So when you look back at the old days of the Greeks and the Romans and things of that nature, homosexual activities were practiced long before Christianity reared its head. So for y'all to be out here calling stuff sin, it's like, no, sir, you hate yourself so damn much on the inside that you had to go about trying to suppress your feelings for someone of the same sex by using drugs to self-medicate, and then you touch men inappropriately because you're not comfortable being who you really are, which is either, I don't know if you're a bisexual or a homosexual. But that's up between you and your God to figure out, since we want to bring God into the conversation. He said, I'm ashamed to admit that for years I've lied and deceived my family, friends, fans, and even misled my bandmates about aspects of my life. I was, for the most part, living 2 distinctly different lives. I was not the same person on stage Sunday night that I was at home on Monday. I was violating everything I was raised to believe by my God-fearing dad and mom about walking with Jesus. Well, Kanye also told us that Jesus walked, and was grieving the very God I love and sang about for most of my life. He abruptly quit Newsboys in January, setting off a round of speculation about what went down and escalated over the past 5 months. His former bandmates have tried to soldier on with the replacement singer for a new album and tour, while some fans balked at the prospect of concert dates preempted or preceding. They misspelled. What is that word? I don't know what they meant to put in here. The process of I think they meant to say proceeding, because they misspelled it. So we're just going to go with that. So they said that while some fans both the prospect of concert dates proceeding without Tait, asking questions about the abrupt departure of a singer who'd been the face of the veteran group for the last 16 years. And yeah, no shade, but if you was a Christian group or a regular group, a lot of times when y'all try to swap out your lead singer that's been a part of the group for a long time and you just immediately try to bring in somebody new, it doesn't really work. Like, you got to take time away and give people a chance. Because no, I won't say it won't ever work, because there's been times when you look at certain bands and they bring in new singers. It tends to, for the most part, they'll accept it. But I guess it's different when it's the Christians. So they said the mystery came into clearer focus on June 4th when a Christian site that publishes investigative stories, the Roy's Report, published a lengthy article about what it called Nashville's worst kept secret. saying that a 2.5-year investigation involving interviews with more than 50 sources showed a pattern of predatory grooming as well as drug abuse on Tait's part. Hold on, let me pull up the Instagram so y'all can see that. Because, child, this is a mess. They made sure to and then the funny thing, when he did his little lengthy report, he made sure to disable the comments, because he ain't want y'all coming up in there windmilling on him. You know, the people that call y'all out on, you Christians, out on y'all hypocrisy, and then also the Christians that are, you know, the want to get in on you about you being a sin, you know, gay being a sin and all that other stuff. So they said, because I was like, where was I left in? Okay, so it says the day after the Royce Report story exploded through the Christian music world, Newsboys issued a statement on the band's Instagram, writing, "When he left the band in January, Michael confessed to us that our management that he had been living a double life, but we never imagined that it would be this bad." The remaining group members said that he had not heard from Tait about the exact allegations, but wrote that our hearts were shattered when we read the news alleging drug abuse and inappropriate sexual actions. First and foremost, our hearts are with the victims who have bravely shared their stories. If you are a victim, we urge you to come forward. We absolutely do not condone any form of sexual assault. And I think that is something, I don't know if because, you know, I get pissed off when y'all start trying to use certain buzzwords when it comes to homosexuality and religion and all of that. Like, you were saying it, like when I went a little too in that, and I still stand on what I said. But the one thing I feel like maybe what I should have gone in a little more on is that you're trying to hide behind these tendencies that you have, but you abuse people. And what you're not going to do is the same stuff that Kevin Spacey did when we all knew he was a faggot. And then he wanted to come out and say, when he got busted and all these allegations, all of a sudden now he want to come out as a homosexual. It's like, girl, we been knew you was a queen. But now all of a sudden, because you got caught with your hand in the damn cookie jar, you want to go, no, you can take that little pride flag and shove it up your ass. Because this is not going to be the time when you're going to try to, you know, ride the pride wave at the benefit of your your discretions. Because you're not going to do that. You come out at another time. But you just talk about that you was a mess. You was doing things because you was ashamed, the self-hatred, all that other stuff that plays into a lot of times when you get these abusers out here doing the things that they doing. You're not going to hide behind being a homosexual when you're an abuser, because that's always been a stereotype when it comes to us, that gays are nothing but a bunch of damn pedophiles and child molesters and abusers. It's like, no, we don't. I don't even like kids enough to be wanting to touch them inappropriately. Quiet as a scat. Even though I did raise my godchild, that's different. But it's like, I don't even like kids enough to be wanting to touch them inappropriately. So we're not even going to do that. So to continue on what they were saying, they said, if you are a victim, we urge you to come forward. We absolutely do not condone any form of sexual assault. Now, Tim Agee, a band member who stepped into the lead singer role, wrote separately on Facebook that the group members heard rumors over the years, but that each time something came up, we tried to find the source and no one would tell us. So how were they able to keep that under wraps? Because he said that I was living a double life, but clearly you wasn't doing a good enough job, because members of your band and other people were saying they had heard things, but when we were trying to find out what was the tea, nothing was coming up. Like, nobody would tell us what was going on. So I don't know, were people being paid off? Like, how was all this not coming? And then what caused them, all of a sudden to do a 2-year investigation into Michael Tait? So in his Instagram statement, Tait said that he had entered treatment following his exit from Newsboys and is now clean and sober. Saying, when I abruptly left Newsboys in January, I did so to get help. I was not healthy physically or spiritually and was tired of leading a double life. I spent 6 weeks at a treatment center in Utah, was a conversion therapy, receiving help that may have saved my life for ultimate destruction. Because, whenever I hear Utah and treatment centers, you already know what I be thinking. It's like, was it conversion? Because they got what they got. Don't they have mostly Mormons out there in Utah? And it's very religion heavy. Says, I've been clean and sober since, though I still have a lot of hard work ahead of me. Now, the initial Reuters report said that the three men who had spoken with the reporter alleged that Tait befriended them individually on Christian music tours in 2004, 2010, and 2014. They were all 22 years old at the time. Two men stated that they were drinking alcohol with Tait and later woke to him fondling their genitals. One alleged Tait also offered him booger sugar while on the Newsboys tour bus. The third told TRR that Tait gave him a back massage while skinny dipping and later invited him to share his king-size bed. There, Tait allegedly non-consensually massaged his anal region. Now, on Monday, K-Love, the nation's biggest Christian radio chain with 400 stations in 48 states, announced that it was putting a pause on airplay for all releases from Newsboys, including apparently records the band put out before and after Tait's tenure and DC Talk. They said, "We are aware of the allegations against Michael Tait, former frontman of the Newsboys," K-Love rep was quoted, told the Reuters report. "As the investigation proceeds, our prayers are with all those involved. Now, in the meantime, our programming team is resting Newsboys and DC Talk Music on our stream. A handful of other Christian stations have preceded K-Love in pulling music by the two groups." Now, Newsboy recently publicly traded blame with a promoter about the cancellation of a Canadian tour, with the group claiming the promoter was in over his head, and the company that canceled the outing indicated in return that ticket sales were suffering after Tait's sudden exit. A U.S. tour was still in the books for summer as of Tuesday, as fans online offering mixed responses about whether they were eager to see the group continue with another member of the band taking over lead vocals or not. Well, yeah, it's like you feel like you're not getting your money's worth. So why would I want to take the time to sit and watch an artist who is not a part of the group? But you bring somebody new in, it's not going to be the same. You know, sexual discretions aside. Now, DC Talk was one of the most popular acts in the history of CCM, which is contemporary Christian music, for those who are not familiar. As a genre, it's often called. The hip-hop inflected pop group's most popular album, 1995's Jesus Freak. Not y'all using Jesus Freak. And y'all supposed to be, all religious and all that stuff, and y'all putting Jesus Freak as a song? Okay. They were certified triple platinum and spent 79 weeks on the Billboard 200. Now, the trio officially went on hiatus in 2001 with Tait, Kevin Max, and Toby Mac, all moving on to successful careers apart from one another. Now, Newsboys had a record of decades of success before Tait joined. With Peter Furler as their original lead singer, they formed in Australia in the mid-'80s and moved to Nashville in the early '90s. Furler left the group and was replaced by Tait in 2009. Now, with their new singer bringing over much of the DC Talk fan base, Newsboys managed to have 4 #1 albums on the Christian charts during his tenure. The group was featured in the evangelistic theatrical drama God's Not. Oh my God, I remember that freaking movie, because back when I worked at AMC, that was like a movie that was God's Not Dead. That movie was just like a big thing when that came out. Now, Tait had aligned himself with conservative politicians or activists over the years. In 2019, he was one of the many prominent evangelical figures signing a letter condemning Christianity Today magazine for supporting President Trump's impeachment. Later, he stood on stage next to Trump at a rally urging evangelical support. The singer posted a video last year urging his fans to vote for Trump. See, and look what we got now. And y'all they be the main ones, hypocrites, talking about us being the worst of the worst. But they the main ones that truly believe, like, when you look at Donald Trump, like, he is the second coming. Yeah, he's the second coming, all right. He's basically Damian Thorne with 45-inch waistline. That's basically what he's given. He is definitely the devil incarnate. So if y'all want to sit up here and try to act like he's the second coming and he's a true Christian when we all know he's not, and Donald Trump is out here selling Bibles when I could have sworn they was all free, then what do you expect? So these be the main ones. So I just decided to talk about this because, I can't stand a hypocrite. And that's basically what this was given. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. What do you guys think of this mess of a story? And this man up in here trying to basically, backpedal and pussy pop off the fact that, yeah, you was out here doing shenanigans and stunts and shows being nasty and messy because you couldn't come to terms with who you are as a man. He ain't identify it. He basically said that he went and got help for the alcohol and stuff, but did you get help for the whatever of the other issues you're dealing with? Because if you out here snorting booger sugar and you out here drinking alcohol, that is usually the self-medicating that you were doing. That is to cover up something else that you are not willing to deal with. And that is the fact that you have same-sex tendencies and attractions. And because you are in the whole Christian sect, and we know what evangelical Christians, how they feel about homosexuality, which is basically natural. I know they don't want to hear it, but I don't give a good goddamn. I'm coming in here with like real life shit. So I ain't got time to be coming up in here with y'all brainwashing with the religion. So you're not willing to come to terms with who you are as a man. So you got to go up in there. You got to do drugs. You got to numb the pain. And then you over here taking advantage of younger men and putting them through situations because you got them urges that you can't deal with on your own. So you got to go and sexually assault people. And yes, when you up in there fondling somebody's genitals, it don't necessarily have to be penetration for it to be assault. You touch somebody inappropriately, that's assault. When you somebody are playing with somebody's anus, that's assault. When you sitting there fondling a man's genitals, that is assault. So you need to deal with that too. You need to deal with what is the root of the issue that you have, that why you doing the things that you're doing with these men, and not try to blame it, as Jamie Foxx would say, on the alcohol. And then I'll add in, for measure, the booger sugar. So I would love to hear from y'all. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know what your overall thoughts on this mess of a story in the comments down below.